it was different from the aspect of having a deeper understanding of repentance and teshuvah, and just really, in the shofar, it was beautiful. We had a really really great time.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And we,
Yeah, so it
and
was
also understanding more of the download, understanding the significance of this feast day of dealing with a download that you really want to have, and it allows you to it equips you for the year. I mean, it like it fills you, it fills the vessel for the whole year.
nice, nice, nice. Okay, one
So
second. Just I'm
how
just
was
gonna get
it?
my head. I'm gonna get my headphones. 1 second. And
All right. And also, can you send the code, the ID and password, because that way my wife can log on. Because that the new Zoom that's being sent, it doesn't have that on there.
oh, it doesn't. Okay. Is there you can't do it, huh? On your thing.
No, because it doesn't open up for me. All I can do is I can just click on it and it'll bring me to this meeting.
Okay. So what exactly you need the passcode?
Yeah, the passcode
All right.
and the
If I said
ID.
it, oh, and if I said it to you, will you be able to send it?
Yes.
All right. So the passcode is 652-734, and then the ID is 340751.
Okay, Toda. Are we still logged on?
Shalom, shalom, we back. You hear me good?
Yes, yes, you Rabbi.
Perfect, perfect. So should we wait a few more minutes or should we go? Don't you know, are you able to speak or not? I can hear you.
Okay. Shalom, shalom,
Okay.
Baruch Hashem.
Okay. Okay. So, all right. So, well, okay. There's so many things. Let me ask you guys a question. I'm ready to answer it. How many days are in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur?
That's the 10 days of all. So,
Yeah,
10 days.
10,
Yeah.
10 days. Right? So, on these 10 days, right, we know that the body part is broken into, 10 dimensions, right? The head, Keter, Medina, the body, the arms, Hesed and Gevurah, the body Tiferet, the legs, Hod and Yesod, the reproductive organ Yesod, and the feet of Malchut, right? So we understand that, right? We understand that all of these different parts of the body are connected to different, are expressing different aspects of light, that emanate from our soul, and our soul is an expression of, Parsufim, and Parsufim originate, in the world above, in the Ein Sof, which is one of, the expressions of Hashem's Ratzon. Hashem is beyond our logic. It's always the Ein Sof. But we are able to connect to the parts of the Ein Sof that are connected to our reality, and us being the top of the crown of creation, being human beings. So each of the different days are obviously connected to different body parts, right? Because that's like 10 days. And so it's each day represents a distribution of light, that's, going into different parts of our neshama, or filling different parts of our perceiving that expresses itself as neshama. We know that neshama expresses itself as limbs and organs. And, and obviously the body, is a byproduct of us falling out of greatness, on the same, on Rosh Hashanah as well, right? Because man was created and man fell on the same day. So now we're in the third day, right? So Thursdays, according to the Kabbalah, is connecting us to the concept of Chokmah, and the second day Bina. So that's where the idea of learning, or the shofar, all these different things, help us to connect, right? To this aspect of connecting the Chokmah. And there is, whatever level our participation is at the holidays is is based off of exactly what we need at this stage, right? Like there's other stages, there's other connections, there's higher connections. And we'll all get to those connections, right? We'll continue to grow, right? That's the concept of Yashar, right? Yashar is a straight line, right? And a straight line is from obviously the bottom to Malchus, all the way straight up, right? That's another expression of the 10th spirit. Right, there's 10 days. It's a different madrigal, 10 different levels, from the Malchut level all the way to the Keter level. Right, so you have shalom, shalom. So you have that component going as well, right? So you have the fact that we have 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and we know 10 is a connection to obviously the 10th spirit, and the 10th spirit we know is connected to the Ein Sof, right? And we know that the human design could be understood through the 10th spirit too, right? The head, Keter Chochmah Bina, the arms, Hesed and Gevurah, chest, Tiferet, legs, holding Yesod, reproductive organs, Yesod, feet, Malchut, So each of the days of these first 10 days are connecting us to these lights, right? So we're on the third day. So the way the Kabbalah explains it is that on the first 3 days of Rosh Hashanah, we build the capacity of we build the capacity of Chokhmah and Bina, right? Why we don't say Keter, it's a different thing, but Chokhmah and Bina, right? Those are the first 2 days. The third day, on the first 2 days we have Suda, we read Torah, Shofar, all these different things, and they help us build that capacity for Chokhmah and Bina, right? It strengthens that, it illuminates, it expands it. And then so on the third day, we have the aspect of God. And what is that? So Chokhmah is that ability to recognize, to experience thought, to experience imagination, to experience, maybe even inspiration or whatnot. And then Bina is that frame of manifesting that thought, like how that's going to be implemented, how that, like a person could wake up and say, hey, I'm thirsty, right? You could say that's in the frame of Chokhmah. But Bina is being able to say, like, okay, well, I have a refrigerator, I have some water, some water in there, I have some juice, whatever. I have that inside of um, I have that inside of I have that inside of um, I have that inside of my my refrigerator, right? So that's ability to manifest, that thought, right? Okay. So yeah, so that's ability to manifest that thought, right? Is through this frame of Bina. Now dot is where the ability to rationalize if this is a good thing or this is a bad thing, it's that ability to override the instinctual part. We have critical thinking to say you can separate, they say like at the end of Havdalah, at the end of Havdalah, at the end of Shabbat, when we say Havdalah to finish, Shabbat, we end with Havdalah, we say Baruch Hamavdil ben Kodesh Lakol, right? And blessed is he who separates, the light from the darkness, right? So that ability to differentiate light from darkness, kosher food and non-kosher food, kosher environments to non-kosher environment, kosher music to non-kosher music, kosher aspirations, things that are in line with the Torah and its values, right? The ability to differentiate that is in the frame of dot. So today, how do you build dot? The restriction, right? The restriction, right? Restriction is the mechanism to build dot. The restriction is the way to always bring all light, even in the lower levels, Hesed, Gevurah, and you have Tiferet. Tiferet is in the frame of the restriction. We're able to have an environment with both lights, Hesed and Gevurah commanded equally creating. So that's the way I feel. And so we have a fast, some people talk about it as the fast of Gedalia, and it's a whole big concept, and whatnot. Gedalia. That's not the point of today's class. So this is we're continuing to grow. You know what I mean? That's the key thing. This is a process. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Right? In each step of the way, we want to be able to walk and reflect, walk and reflect, walk and reflect. Right? The Rav Chol teaches this in this Yishari, that we have to be in a frame of reflection. These days that we're in right now, we're building the spiritual 10 spirit within ourselves, within the world, and everything around us. Right? And so we're building these building blocks. So today, we're building a frame of God. Right? And then tomorrow, we'll be in the frame of Hesed, Gevurah, and Yisod, right? And all these days are humongous openings in the heaven, and we can really cry out to God and say, God, give this to the world. Give this to my cousins, my niece, my nephew, my neighbor. You know, this is a time to cry for other people. You know, it's a time to connect the world with you, right? And obviously, but within ourselves, not saying like, oh, well, the problem's over there. You know, I remember one. I forgot. But anyway, so back in LA, I remember I dated this girl, and I really, she was really a free girl. She really did well. You know, a lot of crazy stuff happened, and it didn't really work out. But I remember
You were about
one
you were about you kind of muffled.
okay, can you hear me better now? Is it better?
Yes, it's better.
Okay. I mean, okay, cool. All right. So I remember like years ago, like I dated this girl, and she, you know, nice girl. She grew up, you know, really. She was like at that time in my life, I thought that was like the ideal girl, you know, to like date, whatever. You know, she had like I went through a process of superficiality in relationships. You know what I mean? Like I was really and it's been this way my whole life, you know, and I kind of carried some of that, a lot of that, you know, with me into like my Jewish life, you know, and a lot of the decisions that I made in terms of relationships were really built around like these kind of like these fantasy type structures that I like thought like, okay, this would be a type of girl. And always Hashem has always blessed me with everything I've ever asked for, you know? But the reality is that there's a lot of intangibles. You know, there's a lot of intangibles that make things work. But anyway, so I dated this one girl in LA. And I said to her, I said, I want to prove to you that, you know, like you're not a racist person, but you're racist. And she's like, what? I said, I just want to prove it to you. And she's like, okay. I said, when you see like, you know, things that happen to black people, or say even Hispanics, you know, things that you see are like injustices and cruel and these types of things, right? Right? What do you think? She said, well, I think it's really messed up that it's happening to, you know, to people. I said, that's exactly the point right there. That your understanding of reality is that those people, they're separate than you. You are here, and you're there. And so therefore race, the concept of race allows you to separate yourself as a human being from another group. And it's not even her fault. That's how, you know, people are taught. You know, that they're taught in that way to to perceive reality, you know, in a type of dynamic, right? And so what we want to do is get away from that, right? We want to be able to connect to all human beings. We want to be able to connect to all nature, all animals. We want to connect to all plants. We want to connect to minerals, and we want to feel safe as a human being, right? Within God's presence and surrounded by God's creatures that are all serving Hashem. Right. Before I talk about my racial identity and my ethnicity and my spiritual connection and my lineage and all these great things that separate me, I want to use these 10 days as a way to be in the frame of Adam, right? We're in the frame of Adam. We're not in the frame of Israel right now. We're in the frame of Adam. As Israel, we are in the frame of Adam, right? This isn't like, you know, other nations aren't doing what we're doing. But the key thing is to connect to the Adam within ourselves, right? There's times when we connect to Abraham, there's times when we connect to Moshe, there's times we connect to different prophets, different times, you know, whatever. But right now, the time to connect to the Adam within ourselves, the perfected human being, the perfected quality. You know, we see like great like sages, like even our time, like in my personal opinion, like, you know, the Baba Trevi, you know, Baba Sali, you know, you've had such, you know, people, Rav Eliashov, you know, humongous people that have perfected so many aspects of their inner self, of who they are, that they're able to be channeled in such tremendous wisdom into this world, like wisdom of Torah. And you see people like Rambam, those people, it's not like, oh, they're geniuses. You can't unlock the Torah being a genius. You can't unlock the Torah being clever. That's for the secular world. To unlock these levels in the Torah, you have to be pure. You have to break levels within yourself. And so when we talk about it, we talk about like great rabbis and people, we're not saying that they're worshiping them. We're admiring the evolution of how far he or even sometimes she took themselves. They went to a different place of sometimes solitude, of what we call Vitaline, restrictions and all types of things. They went through certain trials. Look at the lives of these people. A lot of the people that we read about, rabbis, why are they on this rabbi and why are they talk about this rabbi? Oh man, the Jews worship rabbis, right? That's what they say. No, we're not worshiping anybody. He's just like us. Rambam is just like me. The Ari is just like me. Rabbi Shimon is just like me. Rabbi Kiva is just like me. Rabbi Meir Balaness is just like me. But the difference is that they went to the ultimate level of connections in their generation. It's information on how they understood the portion that matters. Because that's a person who worked on perfecting themselves, right? When we talk about these qualities of midot, of patience and kindness, and he's saying, it's a famous story about it's a big Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. He lived, a few decades ago, and more than a few decades, but he was a tremendous tzaddik in North America. And it was a story that I heard from one of his students, and he was saying that like he was a young guy, and I think this was like maybe in South Africa or somewhere like this, where Robert Moshe Feinstein came to give a lecture or something like this. I think it was South Africa, and so he had the responsibility to go and like pick him up from the airport or whatever. And he had, one other guy with him or whatever. And then Moshe Feinstein got there and he had two people. So the car was like full. And they took him there, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they did their thing, whatever, we spoke, whatever, blah, 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 blah. A couple of days go by. And then so the same people, they all go back to the airport. So they get out of the car and they're, picking out stuff out of the, luggage there as well, blah, blah. And so he says he was walking up towards the entry to the airport with Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. And Rabbi Moshe Feinstein turns to him and said, "Hey, do you have a napkin? Because my hand is bleeding." Right? And he was shocked. He's like, "Oh my God, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein's hand is bleeding." He's like, "What happened, Rabbi?" He said, "When we got out of the car, the guy slammed the door on my hand. And I didn't want to, say, I didn't want to say anything. I was about to get out a tissue now." And so he went to get the rabbi tissue, and he realized that the rabbi got his hand slammed in the door, and he knew what type of embarrassment that would bring to the person and everyone there, right? That he took the pain of that moment. He rather went through that pain of at that moment of dealing with that pain of that. And it sounds like a small thing, Okay, no, it's not a small thing, right? That's a different level. And so the point is the same, like this character refinement. It's not about like someone slamming the door and you're not responding, but it's saying of being so detached from you and being so connected to everything, right? And every step that you take is just a word in Torah or every letter in the Torah significant. Every in the Jewish house, right? And so these doors, represent different pathways. Okay, so I want to learn an interesting idea, and we're going to go somewhere really amazing with it. So I want to learn a little bit about the blood of Noah. This is going to tie into a very significant idea to concentrate on over these days. And We're gonna read about it, and we're gonna read about the. Well, so, sorry about that. Hold on a second. Okay. All right. So I want to do this. We're trying to fly through it because the idea is bigger than necessarily all the text, but the text is going to create a context so we can really hone in on this like supernatural level of consciousness, right? Okay. So we're starting in the story of Noah, and this is like basically midrashing on Noah when he leaves the ark, right? So I want us to imagine this concept of what it was like coming out of the ark and everything that's negative in the world is gone, right? Everything negative in the world is gone, right? In all of human existence, all of humankind, everybody's gone. It's a crazy idea, no? So it says, okay, Noah leaves the ark. It says, though the ark, though the earth assumed its old form at the end of the year of punishment, Noah did not abandon the ark until he received the commandment of God to leave it. He said to himself, as I enter the ark at the bidding of God, so will I leave it only by his bidding. Yet when God bade Noah to go out, he refused because he feared that after he had lived upon the dry land for some time and begotten children, God would bring another flood, and therefore he would not leave the ark until God's will or the earth was flooded. He says when he stepped out of the ark, we stepped out from the ark to the open. We began looking through at the sight of the enormous ravage brought through the flood. So I think I heard fair to say that, like, Noah's situation, the mental breakdown is like definitely warranted, right? All of humanity wiped out. Are you witnessing that? And he said to God, "O thy Lord of the world," he said, "O the Lord of the world, thou hast called the merciful, and thou shouldst have had mercy upon thy creature." God answered him and says, "Oh, you foolish shepherd, now you speak to me. Thus you didn't so when you addressed these kinds of words to me, saying, I saw thee as a righteous man and perfect in my generation. I will bring a flood upon the earth and destroy the flesh. Make an ark for thyself and gospel. Thus I spoke to thee, telling thee all of these circumstances, and thou mightest entreated the mercy of the earth. But though, as soon as you did hear of what would be rescued from the ark, you didn't concern thyself about the ruins and strike earth. Okay, I don't know about this like old English stuff, but the point is just saying that Noah comes out, he's having a mental breakdown, he's seeing this everything is just destroyed. You just can't imagine, right? Imagine just you wake up, family in Texas. Right? You guys wake up, you guys go outside, everyone's gone but you guys. And the thing about it, God comes to you and you're like, these people are wicked. And God's like, hey, I'm gonna walk out the world and I'm gonna wipe out the world and and I'm gonna rebuild it with you guys. And I'm gonna wipe out the world, but I'm gonna save you. Gonna build the ark, and you guys are going to be able to, you guys are going to be able to survive. He said you didn't say anything, though, right? You didn't complain. You didn't say anything. You went and built the ark, and you were saved. And now that the earth is wasted, and now you open your mouth, to supplicate and pray. He says Noah realized that he's been guilty of falling. So God basically showed us. He says, like, hey, we were calling for humanity now. Everything is gone. All the animals are wiped out. All the humans are wiped out. No one was able to do tshuva, right? And I came to you, and you didn't ask for the mercy. You didn't say, no, save these people. right? Now, that conversation is a precursor to Abraham, right? Because Abraham actually did cry for the people. Noah did not, right? He was worried about him and his family alone, and the destruction of the world, the destruction of everything evil did not serve him when he got out, right? It brought him to even more sadness. He says, so Noah realized he had been guilty of folly, and, to God, to appropriate God and acknowledge his sin, he brought a sacrifice. God accepted the offering. Whence he called by his name Noah. The sacrifice was not offered by Noah with his own hands. The priestly service connected with him were performed by his son Shem. And so Shem, who obviously is the progenitor of Abraham, so people say it was Melchizedek himself, did this sacrifice. It's interesting, right? So the sacrifice is something that's given to Shem. So he says there was a reason for this. One day in Noah's ark, Noah forgot to give his rations to the lions. The hungry beast struck him so violent a blow with his paw that he was lame forever. And after having a defect, he was not permitted to do the service priest. So I guess there was some situation that happened in the ark where Noah didn't feed the animals on time, and one of the animals hit him so hard that he was like scarred or some type of deformity, and he was not fit to do the priestly offering. The sacrifice consisted of an ox, a sheep, a goat, 2 turtle doves, and 2 young pigeons. Noah had chosen these kinds because he supposed that they were appointed for sacrifice, seeing that God had commanded him to take 7 pairs of them into the ark. Noah, after the altar was erected in the same place in which Adam and Cain and Abel. Later, which the sacrifices in which the altar will be in the sanctuary of Jerusalem. You remember that? We learned that with Rambam when he was talking about the rebuilding of the Mishkan. The Mishbeach has to be in the southern eastern corner, because that's the same as that place that Noah sacrificed Cain and Hevel in the same places where the first and second temple. After the sacrifice was completed, After the sacrifice was completed, God blessed Noah and his sons, and he made them be rulers of the world as Adam had did. He had gave them commandments saying, be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. During the sojourn in the ark, the 2 sexes of men and animals alike had lived apart from each other, because while the public calamity rages, consistency is becoming, even though those were not, even to those who were not unscathed. This law of conduct had been violated by none in the ark except by Ham, by the dog and by the raven. So Ham is one of his sons, and they all received punishment. Ham's descendants were men of dark hue skin. So this is interesting to reflect on this for 1 minute. People say like, oh, well, the Talmud's racist, this, blah, 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 because he talks about his descendants having dark haired skin. But it says the same thing about Shem too. He also had dark skin. So that idea is, something that, some people have perpetuated in these types of things, but it's kind of a weird thing. The dark skin thing is pretty much everyone in the Middle East, for thousands of years, like just by definition of the equator and these types of things. So we're not obviously talking about skin in that way. We're talking about something else, right? It's common sense. He says, as a token that he would be destroyed, the earth no more, that he would not destroy the earth no more, God set his bow in a cloud, rainbow. Even if in sin, both claim that their sins will not cause harm to the world. Time came in the course of ages when men were pious enough not to have lived in dread of punishment. In such times, the bow was not visible. Okay. God accorded permission to Noah and his descendants to the flesh of the earth for food, which was forbidden from the time of Adam. So he's saying from the time of Adam to Noah, everyone was vegetarian. But because of the lower dimension that they were in, um, because of the lower dimension that they were in, they were permitted to eat meat, right? So I mean, it's an interesting part, like eating meat, whatever. Okay, he says they were to abstain from the use of blood. They ordained Noahide laws, the observance of which incumbent all men, not upon Israel alone, enjoined particularly in the command against shedding of human blood. Those would shed man's blood, his blood would be shed. And even if man's judges let him guilty to his punishment would overcome. He would die a natural death, such as an affliction upon his fellow men. Yeah, even beasts that slew me, even then would the life of man be required. Even a beast that slew men, even then life would be required. All right, so it's attaching the seven billion Noah, this position of this of Basar, this new level of meat and the dynamic. But this is why we're learning this, right? All this that we did, I just want to precursor. I just don't want to start with that. Walk into this idea. This is a massive concept, and we should be successful in it. Okay, so the curse of the drunkenness. Noah lost his ethics of pious when he began to occupy himself with growing a vineyard. So apparently Noah had this idea to plant a vineyard. He became a man of the ground. In this first attempt to produce wine at the same time, produced the first kind. In this first attempt to produce wine at the same time, produce the first to drink to excess. So I guess Noah. So I guess Noah, had this desire to create this vineyard to be able to make wine. Now, why, how, the whole thing, I don't know, but it's interesting. So Noah wants to build his vineyard. He creates his vineyard. So this is the first person to create a glass of wine. So anytime we have wine on Shabbat, we should be thinking? We should be thinking of Noah, right? We should be thinking of Noah. We should be thinking of Noah planting the vineyard and creating the first glass of wine. And also we should have in mind Noah and not drinking in excess, right? So what happened? So this is the first attempt to produce wine, at the same time produce the first drink to excess. This is the beginning of Alcoholics Anonymous. The first utter curse upon his associates and the first to introduce slavery. This is the way it all came about. Okay, so not only did this create a dynamic of Alcoholics Anonymous, but he's the first to introduce slavery, okay, and also the first to utter a curse upon his associate. So the first time cuss words come out, and the first time slavery comes out, comes in flame of alcohol and excess of it. This goes back towards the times of Noah. Noah found the vine which Adam had taken from paradise, and he was driven forth. He tasted the grave upon it, and finding them palatable, he resolved to plant the vine and keep it. So I guess it was some vine that existed some of the time of Adam, and Noah found it. And I guess the sweetness of grape was still upon it. Maybe he got a little buzz. I don't know. And so he says, Noah found the vine in which Adam had taken from paradise when he was driven forth. He tasted the grape upon it, and finding them palatable, tasty, he resolved to plant the vineyard and tend to it. On the self same day, on which he planted it, it brought forth fruits. So I guess it was still the supernatural component. So he planted it, and then that day, that same day, it manifests. Right? That's how it was, 6,000 years ago. And so, maybe not 6,000 exactly, but. So 5,000, 5,000. Right? I don't know. So anyway, so does it say? So the same day it bore fruits. He planted, it bore fruits, but he in the end pressed wine and drew off the juice and drank it. And he said he became drunken and he was dishonored all on one day. So this is where to make some booze or wine in this context. He gets drunk and he was dishonored. His assistance in the work of cultivating the vine was okay. And so he said, so when he's in the vine vineyard, he's saying the Satan was with him. Right? This is a very important point to where we're going to go in this conversation. Right? He's planting the vineyard, and he says his assistant in the work of the cultivating was the Satan, who had happened along at every who happened along in every moment when he was engaging in planting the sip that he found. Okay, so the Satan said to him, so Noah's planting this vineyard, imagine this, right? The whole world, no negativity world, all the enemies, all the negative people, everything's gone, everyone's destroyed, all the wicked people are gone. Just Noah. And, before we go into this conversation, the sages say the reason why Noah wanted to plant a vineyard, and maybe we'll say it here, but the reason why is because he wanted to taste the wine and he wanted to bless Hashem. He thought that because the world was so in a state of purity, that if he did this bracha on this aspect of creation, hagefet, that he could bring the redemption for all of humanity, right? He could bring the redemption for all of humanity, right? That's what he thought, right? And so he wanted to plant a vineyard, right? And so hold on one sec here. Hold on. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so okay, so all right, so we're in this we're at this level, right? We're at this level. Okay, so what we're trying, where we're at right now. So Noah is trying to do the unthinkable, right? He's trying to do the unthinkable, right? He's building a vineyard and he is going to finish the job for humanity. Meaning he's going to bring everything into this kind of this messianic era, right? In the place where there's no war, there's no famine, this whole thing, the thing we're building to now, right? But what happens right when he starts the process? Who's there? The Satan. What does the Satan say? The Satan asks him, "What is it thou art?" He says, "What is it that you're planting here?" Noah says, "A vineyard." He says, Satan asks him, he says, will be part of what it produces? And Noah says, hold on one second. Person, the wilding out. Hold on one second. second. Mm, People have to be muted because they're wowing. All right, so let's keep going. So, okay, so he's doing this. He's doing this type of a thing, right? The Satan is there. Like where we're going to go with this is really, high level. Hold on. Right back to screen. All right. All right. All right. So, okay. So I'm planting a vineyard. What are the qualities of the vineyard? She said it was going to bear sweet fruits and it will be dry and moist, and yield wine and rebirth, rejoice in the hearts of men. He says, the Satan says, let's go into partnership in creating this vineyard. Noah agreed. So I guess Noah was not able to understand that this is the Satan, right? It's a very important point. Noah was a righteous man. He rejected evil, right? He completely rejected evil, right? And so the dynamic of Noah, rejecting, um, rejecting, rejecting all of the people in his generation, but they're all gone, right? But the Satan is there, and he's not able to see the Satan, apparently, right? So the Satan therefore slaughtered the lamb, and then in succession ate a lion, a pig, and a monkey. All right, so it's interesting. Why would the Satan start with a lamb? We do lamb and Pesach. A lion that's not kosher, a pig is not kosher, and a monkey, which is not kosher. He said, the blood of each as it was killed, he made to flow, and thus he conceived to know what the qualities of wine were before man brings it as an innocent, as a lamb. If he drinks of it moderately, he feels as strong as a lion. Okay, so this, okay. The blood of each as it is killed, he may flow under the vine. Okay. To know that wine, before man drinks of it, he's innocent of the land. If he drinks moderately, if he drinks more than he can bear, he resembles a pig. And if he drinks to the point of intoxication, he behaves like a monkey. He dances around, sings, sucks, this deterred Noah. This deterred this deterred Noah no more than the example of who fall had been defined. Oh yeah, because he ate them. Interesting. Interesting. So they're saying here, because it's a big thing. So that what Eve ate was just like a great thing type of a thing, right? I mean, that was kingdom. Yes. So they're saying so Adam eating from it, maybe it wasn't about intoxication, but it was where it came from per se, right? It came from a particular set of trees. And so now the same thing here is happening to Noah in a different way. This this drunken condition, Noah took his tent of his wife, his son Ham. Okay, I don't want to go into the part of the story. What I want to do is just deal with another part, a specific idea as it relates to this, right? We know the story, this, blah, blah, the curse, the whole thing, right? Okay. But what are we talking about here, right? What we're talking about is I want us in this class to think about the concept of Noah, not from the story in the Bible, but a state of consciousness, right? Right? We imagine you achieve a state of consciousness where all the enemies and all the negativity and all the things in this world just vanish. Right? People pray for this, oh, all my enemies, destroy all my enemies, they're all gone, get them out of here, bye, leave. Right? We have that. Right? We have that. Right? In the dynamic of that, right? That desire. So let's say that all of us, we achieve that level. When we get rid of all of our enemies, all the negativity, we get rid of all of it. Then we will be in a situation like Noah, no? So the issue is not the physical people. Noah still ended up cursing his son. Noah's curses led to things like slavery and all other types of things, right? When we're talking about slavery, we're talking about a state of consciousness disconnected from Hashem, right? Where a person doesn't feel that they're connected to the universe. They feel that they're bounded by the ground, right? Right? So what we're talking about is a state of consciousness where, yeah, let's say we do achieve that. Obviously, that's not the issue because the Satan is still there. The Satan is, okay, all your enemies, all the Hamases, all the negative, all the white supremacists, all the people who are angry, evil, this, the murderers, this, they're all gone. The Satan is still there. The Satan is what you're dealing with, right? The Satan is your challenge. That's what we're up against. We're building ourselves over these days, not building ourselves for the sake of, okay, I want to overcome the people, so there's negativity, I got to stay pure. This is like, no, the Satan uses the physical world to challenge and to conquer us. Our job is humbling ourselves and making Hashem crown over king, over everything, right? That's what these 10 days are about, is putting Hashem over all the different aspects of our body, all the different aspects of our consciousness, all the different ways that we receive life in this world. That whole experience, right? That whole experience is what we're talking about, right? And so and so we have to expand our consciousness past the level of looking at the physical enemies in our life, right? The person who says the weak thing, the thing that's not working out, the big challenge that's happened. And we have to put Hashem as king. When we put Hashem as king, we understand that we have an aspect in the creation called the Satan that's there that manifests these challenges in our life. It's the aspect of the Tarsuf that's concealed. The dimming of Hashem's light, that is the Satan. That is not a devil character. It's an expression of energy. It's an expression of concealment. And that expression of concealment drives man to do this, that, and this. So this is the challenge, is to get ourselves in a frame of having a year where our challenge is not people, it's not situations, it's the manifestation of the dimming of Hashem's light in this reality that we refer to as the Satan, right? The dimming of the Parsut, that if we had complete clarity, we would never commit a sin. It's only through the concealment of Hashem's light do we commit sins. That we go into disparity, we get depressed. How could you ever get depressed if you had complete clarity? So any points, reflections on anything we discussed?
No, Chief Rabbi, but thank you for the share. It was very, very, very positive outlook to be able to move forward this year and not look at, the circumstances that can challenge us. And so just thank you.
Yeah, and the thing is on that point is saying that the idea is to be able to make a relationship with the challenge, right? To understand and say, like, where is this challenge taking me to? What is the byproduct of how I respond to this challenge, right? And to be able to see that, no, it's a concealment, right? And the concealment is we refer to it as the Satan. We refer to it as the klipa. We refer to it as negativity. OTL, you got anything for us? Okay, so we'll okay, cool. So great. So we'll continue. We'll continue tomorrow without the show, but it's a fast day. Take it easy, and I had a great experience. Um, I mean, so many stories to tell, and so many people, and I mean, it was like a movie. The people are hosting. They're like, man, I feel like we're in a movie right now. Like, because there's so many different things happen, and so many connections and soul connections, and this. But it was a life changing experience for me, and I really see that um, doing holidays is important. And I made a commitment to really spend this year to perfect leading services for congregations and really making that a thing. So, I could provide that because it felt really good. It was a different holiday, it's a different experience, like being responsible for so many people, right? And just the shofar and everything. So it was an amazing experience, and we'll talk more about it in the future. But we're getting through the last minutes of this fast. But we should all be blessed, and just think about the consciousness of Noah and how God gave us this opportunity to see that, right? Through the Midrashim. The Midrashim bring out that all the enemies were gone, right? All the enemies are gone. But nevertheless, man still had to struggle with his own personal suffering, right? And it's just interesting, the whole alcohol and the drinking and all this type of stuff. So, Baruch atah Adonai.